Now, one of the senators who would have normally been there has peeled away, agreed to join us this morning. He's a well-known local figure. Senator Hugh Farley, of course, is represented Schenectady for somewhat 30 years or so. He's, as I said, a well-known figure here, an important figure in the Capital District, and he's good enough to join us this morning. Good morning, Senator. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Nice to be with you, Fred.
Great to have you. Boy, people are hurting. I'm sure you hear it. You've got many commuters who come in from Schoharie County, Fulton County, Schenectady County. They come to Albany or they travel to other places. It's costing them a fortune now, isn't it?
Absolutely the hot-button issue of, since I think I've been in the Senate. I've never seen an issue that's been more significant, and it's terribly significant to everybody upstate.
Even more significant, and it's not quite the same because it wasn't a pocketbook issue, but my favorite issue in terms of angering and riling the electorate happened last fall with Governor Spitzer's proposal to allow illegal aliens to get driver's licenses. Is this bigger than that?
I think
different because it's a pocketbook issue.
It's different.
Right.
But that was a hot-button issue. No question. I never saw anything. I had a bushel basket full of mail on that driver's.
But on this issue, as fired up now as the public is, will the legislators, their elected representatives, respond, or is this just the usual political posturing?
No, I think we're responding, and I'll tell you, you're going to see something happening. I know that the Assembly's come out against it.
Right.
It's a terrible mistake on that one. I think it's part of the fact that they don't have enough cars in New York City to be concerned about this.
Well, they have so much revenue. They don't have enough revenue to keep paying for all the projects they want paid for. Other spending. I mean, that's what it's about, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
They can afford to give up the revenue.
Let me just say, just drive to New Jersey and see what happens when somebody takes the tax off gasoline. Yeah. It's 30 cents or less a gallon. And, you know, this is going to happen. We're just putting it on from Memorial Day through Labor Day. And I'll tell you, every politician, Hillary Clinton, John McCain, and I just spoke to the minority leader here as he was leaving prior to this. Right. He thinks it's a good idea, too. It's something we've got to address. It can make quite a difference. It will bring that, particularly if the feds move and we move, it could bring it down to close to $3 a gallon.
Well, still, we have to be grateful for that these days. It's pretty ironic.
Sounds like a terrible...
It looks like Senator Clinton is on board with something along these lines, although she's talking about a windfall profits tax on oil companies to pay for the loss of federal revenue. Barack Obama has so far refused to endorse it. I think it's a mistake for Obama. This could play out.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Tactical error. But here in New York, just getting back to this, why just for 3 months in the summer? I mean, people who commute to work do it 12 months of the year. Won't that benefit a lot of tourists, for instance, who come into this state?
Huge.
Why benefit the tourists? I mean, I'm sorry, I meant out-of-state tourists who are going to benefit from it.
That has a tremendous benefit for New York State in income that'll come into the state through sales tax, through business. You know, business is really suffering in New York State. This will make a huge difference. This is when people take their vacations. They come. New York State is a gorgeous state, particularly in the summer.
Yeah, because it's so empty upstate, especially with all the people who left here under George Pataki. 1 million people left under your Republican governor.
Well, we're going to bring them all back this summer, particularly with low gasoline prices.
Well, that's an interesting thought. I hope something can be developed here, obviously, for the good of all the people who are suffering under this, although ironically, with the rollbacks that you're talking about, we would be back, as you say, around maybe $3 a gallon.
Well, when you're talking $4 a gallon for a fill-up, it makes quite a difference.
President Bush is going to have a great legacy there, right? Iraq war and gasoline prices.
I don't know that I don't know that you can blame this all on Bush.
A little bit, maybe.
He got to get in line because they're throwing everything at him, but the kitchen sink. But I think it happens to every president in their last year in office.
What happens, you think, over in the Democratic-controlled Assembly? Does Speaker Silver feel the public heat in a way that he changes his position?
I think
right
he
now,
has
it doesn't look like...
It happened on driver's licenses, didn't it? And I think that this is an issue is huge. He certainly does have a presence with his members upstate, and they're going to be irate over this.
Well, this could be a very good issue for Jim Tedisco in the Assembly minority if, in fact, the Assembly Democrats don't move on this, right?
If I know my Assemblyman, and that's what Jim Tedisco is, he's going to jump all over this like a rug, I'll tell you. You can be sure of it. And
you think Tedisco has a little energy and he's a fighter, you think?
I know he has a little energy, and he's pretty
He's a remarkable guy.
He's really been a remarkable minority
He's always
leader.
on that basketball court playing. And he used that, the same energy he brought brought to, I guess, at Union as a basketball star. He's brought to.
I saw him play. I saw him. He was All-American, you know, in Division III.
No question.
Let me just.
Oh, wait, you think he's a little bit better than Charlie Nesbitt as the Assembly Minority Leader?
Come on,
or is that Nesbitt?
I just think that Jimmy's one of the finest minority leaders I've ever seen there, and I'm very proud of what he's doing.
That's what you know. That's what Speaker Silver says, by the way, as well. I think is he likes him as a minority leader.
I just want to go to another issue which has just come out on gasoline. Is something that I think was a bad decision by the feds was this ethanol. Actually, it decreases the mileage. It's
energy inefficient to make it.
That's correct.
It costs more to make it.
And it's driven up food prices unbelievably. And it's the recent thing that came out for lawnmowers and snow blowers and small engines. It can hurt the engine because it runs too hot. That's the thing they ought to get rid of.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. In my view, the environmental activists are the most dangerous force in this country today. They have harmed the economy more than anyone else or any other group has. They don't have atomic power plants. We don't have coal gasification plants. We don't have the recycling of waste from our landfills where we can generate tremendous amounts of energy.
We have got to get on an alternative, clean coal.
Right.
It is. We've got a 200 years supply.
To do it. We've got the brilliance to do it.
And, you know, nuclear power, which everybody's scared, is probably the cleanest, most effective source of energy that there is. We've got to get off this oil.
80% of their power is from nuclear power.
Of course.
In England, I think, is 60%. Japan is almost 100. Well, I think it's 80%.
We've got to get off this oil kick. And I'll tell you, that's a huge
the Greenies who control things, they say, yes, we've got to get off, but we've got to do with less.
Yes.
They're against modernity. They want to roll back our modern society.
They ought to talk to China and India and a few other places that are moving way forward in this area.
We're hearing from a listener who's very bright and follows the show closely. Isn't the gasoline tax dedicated to paying off New York State bonds? How can the state consider not collecting it? Will there be constitutional issues with those who invested in those bonds, knowing the gas tax is dedicated to paying them off?
Well, we have got a proposal in this legislation that will take care of this dedicated fund.
It would substitute another revenue stream?
It has to be done. We have to look out for our roads and bridges. But as I said before, I truly believe that during the summer period, and we've got to see how this plays out, it will increase the revenue and the resources and the business and everything else. I think it'll be a very positive thing. People from New York City, from Staten Island, you know, people from Staten Island go and buy all of their gas in New Jersey. They just go across the bridge.
Of course. We're hearing from a listener, I wouldn't call him a wise guy per se. This might be the instinctive reaction, saying, if you want to get off oil, why cut the taxes on gasoline? The answer is, and you give your answer, but my answer would be, this is an emergency situation
Absolutely.
now. You know, that getting off oil and going to atomic power or coal or whatever for electrical generation is a gradual process, but there's an immediate need now for so many people who are middle class, lower middle class, poor people. I mean, they're seeing their discretionary income vanish up there or out their exhaust pipes.
There's no question about it. We don't have mass transit, particularly in the rural parts of my district and so forth. And listen,
in New York City, it's great. You get on the subway, you ride a good bus. I mean, we just don't have that.
We don't have it, and they depend on their livelihood with their cars, and it is absolutely an issue that has to be addressed. And we're going to try to do the little bit we can do. There's a lot of big things out there that have to be done at the federal level, and I certainly think that anybody that is in national office ought to get on this one, because if they don't, they're going to be out of office.